Okay, today is the day that we cut holes in our van, which is super nerve-wracking and exciting. These are our CR Lawrence bunk windows that we'll be putting one in the back and one kind of on the driver's side up front.
First we got to cut up some ribs on the innards here. I am just making markings, like a straight line, so we're going to cut these ribs off. The window's 10 by 33, so I'm just doing 13 inches down these ribs, then we'll cut off basically 13 inches of them. We'll have about 1.5 inches to play with in between, but these need to go first.
We used an angle grinder to remove the metal ribs from the van. A heat gun came in handy to warm up the adhesive so the ribs came right off. Be sure to file and paint the sharp edges after you cut.
So we've removed the trim ring and we are taping it down. Now I'm going to trace the inside piece here. It's very important that you do the inside piece, not this other part.
Tree. What are you doing?
Then we cut out our template with a box cutter and made sure it fit nicely inside the trim ring.
I got the template, I measured 1.5 inches right here, all the way down, so it's a straight line. Then I take this drill bit and I go boom and boom.
Okay, do it.
We poked 2 drill bits through the holes we'd made so that our template would line up exactly where we wanted it to be on the outside of the van. Then we traced the template with a Sharpie and added tape around the perimeter to protect the van paint. We also taped the bottom of the jigsaw for extra protection. Next up, we drilled a small hole in the corner of the sheet metal area and used a stepping drill bit to make it large enough for our jigsaw blade. Then Nico carefully cut around the edges with the jigsaw.
I think I'm just going to go in just to see how it feels.
Make sure to file any sharp edges around your window holes and add primer and paint to prevent rust.
I'm pre-drilling all these holes because from what I've heard, it's hard to do while you have it on the van. It just makes these go in a lot easier.
So now we're gonna put the window in. I'm gonna hold it from this side and Nico is gonna screw in the
Trim ring on the other side.
trim ring on the other side.
You
Can never remember the name of what it's called. Wow. We have a window! We have a window! We did something, babe.
Yeah.
We did it! We did a window! We did it! Okay, it's day 2 of doing windows. We're gonna do the same exact thing that we did to this window, but we're gonna do it in our kitchen.
We put up tarps to try to contain the metal shards that were flying off the angle grinder because we don't want them to turn into rust spots.
Just gonna file down these edges now, just so we don't have any sharp points. Put some paint on it for rust prevention, and then we'll put a template up.
that work? You're almost through.
It's a good idea to measure from the lines in the body of the van to make sure the window will be straight. The second bunk window didn't fit the first time, so we used a sanding wheel on the angle grinder to make a little more room. All right, she fits. We've got a window. Two windows, really. The last step was to do a leak test with a hose. Lucky for us, both bunk windows had no leaks.
Okay guys, today we are cutting a window right here on our sliding door of the van. This will be our largest window. It's our final window that we have to cut, and this window we will be gluing in. We've got some urethane glue, which is how this seals to the van, so it's a little bit different than the bunk windows we have. So now we need to trace along the outside here, so that way it transfers over onto the other side. We don't have to make a template for this window like we did with the bunk windows. Instead, we are using this, which is called an awl, and a hammer, and we're just gonna puncture little marks, and then it'll show on the other side of the van so we know where to cut. Now what I'm gonna do, since we can't use the awl to puncture through these two layers of metal, is I'm gonna measure around using this paintbrush. I'm just gonna mark it with a Sharpie, so that way we know how far about these cuts should be from this edge. So that way we can come around here, and then we'll drill holes with a drill so that way we can see it on the other side. Okay. Okay, we've got these little marks from puncturing the inside of the van, and now I'm gonna go ahead and trace it with a ruler here. So we have a template. All right, we marked right here, between here and here, so Nico knows to stop cutting, because on the back side of that is the door lock. You just want to make sure that you don't cut that off, obviously. We've got the tarp all set up back here to collect metal shavings as we cut the window, and I think we're ready to cut.
Just taping up the seam, just so metal shavings don't get in here. I don't know if they will, but just in case. First we'll drill a pilot hole so I can fit a jigsaw in here. And we'll jigsaw all around.
We used a multi-tool to cut around the tricky area where the door lock is.
Just in time to see the unveiling.
See the hole. Yay. Okay, now we have to vacuum in this little crack here, just because it would have filled up with little metal shards and we don't want those to cause any rust.
So today I got a metal shard in my eye. If you're doing this, wear safety goggles. That put us behind, so now it's getting cold and dark, so now we're kind of running out of time. So we've decided to put the window on tomorrow. I read that it's best to do the urethane when it's a bit warmer.
We will postpone the window installment until tomorrow, and we'll see you then.
See you tomorrow.
All right, good morning guys. We're back here building the van again. Today we just need to glue on the window in the hole that we cut behind us yesterday. So let's get to it.
We vacuumed this yesterday, but there's still a bunch of metal flakes. So just have a magnetic little point to our flathead. I'm just getting them. The next step is putting this trim ring on. Just all around this edge. Gotta knock it down with a rubber mallet.
So now on this finished edge here, we're just gonna pull both ends off a little bit so we can line them up and give this one a cut so that way they can go back together flush. Both of them undone, kind of line it up, so like right about there is where I want to make my cut. Beautiful. Okay, so this is our urethane glue. Right on the tip here is kind of the outline of a V. And that's what we're gonna cut, so that way we have the right shape for the bead when we apply it to the van. All right, so we've cut this little V notch, and so when we apply it, it'll go like that and kind of leave a little mountain of a bead. You want about a 1/2 inch bead sticking up. All right, it is primer time. So I've got the little dabber and I'm just gonna apply primer all around the edge of the window. Okay, I've done the primer. It takes about 10 minutes for that to dry and then we start putting on the urethane.
When applying the urethane, Nico had to move up and down a ladder while trying to maintain a continuous bead. This wasn't ideal, and having a long raised platform to stand on, such as a tall bench or a piece of scaffolding, would have been a better move.
So now Nico's going back around with a stick just to kind of make sure that there are no gaps between the urethane and the primer.
Just cleaning off the glass before we stick it on. You want it nice and clean. No oils from your hands, no dust, nothing.
Alright guys, unfortunately we just did the water test and there is a leak. We think it's coming in from kind of the back part of the window over by the trim ring.
It's definitely coming.
It's coming from back here. We removed the trim ring, but as you can see, there is some water down in there. We think it's coming in from this side. You can kind of see light coming through. You can see the light that's coming in right there. That is a gap, and then there's one a little bit lower right there. Those are the only ones we could find. We might try to just seal them up. I don't know. All right, hi guys. We are going to be fixing our bonded window behind us. It has a bit of a leak, so we are putting some silicone in there to try and hopefully stop it from leaking water.
Silicone too.
Silicone 2, the sequel.
Just gonna pour some more on. We're gonna see if it leaks.
After 2 rounds of silicone, the window unfortunately still leaked, so we had to come up with a different solution.
Hi guys, today we are hopefully finally fixing our window leak. We've got some window weld that we're going to pipe in there and create a new seal around the edge. If this doesn't work, then we might be taking off the window. So hopefully it works.
So my first step is just masking around these lines, because my plan is to take this, and since I can't get to the bead where it's leaking, which is like here, is to take this and just go around this whole edge of the window so water can't even get to the bead. Hopefully it works, but yeah, I gotta mask it so I don't get any black smudge everywhere like we did last time.
Just to be clear about what we're doing here, we aren't filling the gaps we had in our original bead of urethane. We are creating an entirely new seal around the top and side edges of the window, since that's where we believe our leaks are. Then we cleaned up the bead a bit since it will be visible from the outside.
hello from the future. We are parked at our friend's house now in LA, and as you can see, we have our same window here, and we did not have to take it out because it did not leak after our, what was it, third attempt at sealing it. So we actually just had a pretty big rain the other day, and the window does not leak. So without further ado, we're gonna get into our lessons learned for this video. This is where we go over just things that we would either do differently or things we learned in the process of doing our window install.
Number one, when you're cutting your template for the bunk windows, if you're doing bunk windows, it's easier to get a precise cut when you have thinner cardboard. I don't show this in the video, but we made 2 templates. The first one didn't cut very well because it was thick. And then we moved to a thinner piece of cardboard, and the box cutter cuts it really nicely.
The second tip that we have for when you are cutting out your windows is to have someone adding tape onto the piece of metal that you're cutting out as you're going along. Because as you're jigsawing, the metal becomes more wobbly, the piece of metal that you're removing. So we just used little pieces of tape to secure that into place, and I think that was very helpful.
Worked well. Tip number 3 is going to be using fresh metal blades for your jigsaw. You can buy packs of them. There's specific ones you could use for sheet metal. We bought like 3 or 4 of them, and I think we maybe switched them out once or twice during our window cuts, plus our fan cut. So if you buy a big pack of them, it should last you pretty much your whole build.
The next tip you saw us do in the video, Nico drilled holes in our window before we had it in place. So there are holes already in the trim ring for where you're going to be screwing in the screws into the window, but there are not pilot holes already in the metal frame of the window. So before you put your window in place in the van, it's a good idea to line up the trim ring with the window and drill some pilot holes so that way they're ready to take your screws.
So the next tip is going to be for the slider window. As you can see in the video, we got a leak, and that is due to having a non-consistent bead. And I guess part 1 of this tip is if you had a level platform you can move around on. Unlike us, we were using a little step ladder, so I would have to do a bead with the caulk gun and then look down, step down the ladder, try to hold it in the same spot, and then move the ladder and then get back on and then continue. Obviously that's not the best way to do a continuous bead, so having just a platform where it's all level where you can walk around on would be really helpful. So
that way you could reach both the top and the bottom part of the window hole without having to go up and down something. You could just be on the same level platform. To go along with that, they also make a electronic caulking gun, and I will link that in the description box below if you wanted to spend a little extra money on that, and then you won't have to use the pressure of your grip basically to keep the bead going continuously. It'll apply a even continuous amount of pressure as you move the caulk gun around where you're placing the bead. We haven't had experience with that. After doing this, we think they'd be really helpful, so I've linked it below.
They are expensive, but I think it would be worth it. It is also what professionals use. If you watch any video of window installers, they always have that automatic gun, so something to think about.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please give us a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and subscribe to our channel. We will be coming out with new videos either every Sunday or every other Sunday documenting our entire build. Hit the notification thing and you'll get a little notification for whenever we post a new video.